everyone, welcome to episode 6 of iSampleU. Please go check out episodes 1 through 5 if you haven't already. For this episode, I'm going to try a little bit different of a format, so you're going to be able to hear how I turn this into this. But without further ado, let's get right into it. This week's submission came from my good friend Robert Sheiman. Let's check out what he had to share. Alright, so the first thing I did is I took the beginning half of the sample, just where Robert was playing those kind of nice lines on guitar, and I broke it up into each individual note that he strummed. As you can see, I bounced each of them out to a sampler track that's right here, so that I could literally play whatever I wanted to on the keyboard like this. And I played this one pattern that I kind of used for the entire beat, which sounds like this. Next thing I did was I added a kick, a rim shot, layered that with a snap, added some percussion, layered some more percussion in, a bass, some ambient water and bird noises, a piano, and a little floaty synth on the top. At this point, if you want to, you can skip ahead to the beat, or if you're curious about how I made each of those sounds and how I processed all of them, you can stick around until then. So first for the guitar, I did my classic NLS channel, brought down the gain a bit, used the FabFilter Pro Q3 to take out a lot of the low end to leave room for the bass and piano and other things down there, and took out this one high, kind of harsh frequency around 14,000 hertz, and just gave a little bit more room for the guitar at like 2,000 hertz. Next, I compressed it with the CLA 3A compressor with a good amount of peak reduction, and then brought on the CLA guitar plugin that has a lot of awesome effects, so I just gave it a little bit of a boost in the sub bass, a little more bite in the treble, and a little push to compression. As you can see, I barely even touched the knobs, but it just gives it a little bit more of an effect. And then I gave it a little bit more stereo wideness. And then I busted out to an echo with the Soundtoys Echo Boy, just with a quarter note echo. So without any of the effects on there, it sounds like this. But with everything together, it sounds like this. Next for the kick, I started out again with the NLS channel, brought down the gain a little, put on the FabFilter Pro Q just to take out a bunch of the high end to give it a little less of the punch and the treble. I used the CLA 76 with a slow attack and a fast release so that you get a lot of the impact of the kick, but then it immediately kind of contains it. And then I put on the T-Rax Classic Clipper to give it a little bit of soft clipping. So before any effects, it sounds like this. And after I put the stuff on, it sounds like this. Next was the rim shot, which I really just gave a slight EQ to take out some of the harshest part of the high end, and then used the CLA 76 to compress it a little bit. And I sent it out to a reverb bus with a pretty spacious and wide reverb sound. Then I added this little snap sound that kind of has a bird chirp type thing added on it. And then I just EQ'd out around 2,500 hertz and 12,000 hertz just to cut out a little bit more of the harshness in it. And did the same type of compression on it with the CLA 76. Did a slow attack and a fast release at around a 4.0 ratio. Then I used Logic's Drum Machine Designer to bring in some hi-hat sounds. Gave it some light compression at around a 4:1 ratio, medium release, and a pretty slow attack. And then I used iZotope's newly refurbished vinyl plugin, which I think sounds awesome and gives everything kind of a retro type sound. So this is what the hi-hats sound like. Then I opened up another instance of the Drum Machine Designer and brought in some like shaker and tambourine sounds. So without any processing, they sound like this. But with a little bit of compression and again the iZotope vinyl plugin, they sound like this. For the bass, I used Wave's Bass Fingers plugin, which is an awesome bass emulator. I've used this plugin before, but I just think it sounds awesome for analog bass. So I used the Rasta bass preset, which I think sounds pretty dang good. Again, gave it the NLS channel, brought down the gain, used the FabFilter Pro Q3 again to cut out a lot of the super subby, kind of most muddy frequencies below about 26 hertz. Ducked around 73 hertz and ducked around 400 hertz. Again, just to leave room for the piano and the kick drum and some other lower elements. Gave it the CLA2A, which is a bit softer of a compressor. And then I used R-Bass to give it a little boost around 131 hertz. So without those effects on it, it sounds like this. But with the addition of these, it sounds like this. And if you're not wearing headphones, those changes are not going to seem very noticeable to you, but in the context of the mix, they make a big difference. Next was the piano, which I used the Arturia Piano 5 from the Arturia synth collection, and I used the German Large Studio Grand Piano preset. Used the NLS channel, brought down the gain again, used the FabFilter Pro Q3 as usual, gave it a boost around 400, and you'll remember I ducked a little bit around 400 in the bass. So I'll give the piano a little bit of boost there just to help it stand out a bit more. And then I ducked the piano around 2,000 hertz to give a little bit more room for the higher stuff like the guitar and the synth that's coming up next. And then I used the R compressor, which is just a very basic Waves compressor, but I think sounds really good to just help crisp things up a bit. So without the EQ and compression, it just sounds like this. But with those effects on it, it sounds like this. And next up is the little sparkly synth on the top that I added. So I used Arturia's Synclavier 5 from the Arturia synth collection again. Found this preset called Distant Shores. And without any of the effects I added, it sounds like this. So again, I used the FabFilter Pro Q3, took out a lot of the low end, and gave it a little bit of a boost around 8,500 hertz. Next, I put in the iZotope vinyl plugin again and give it a good amount of warp so that it has kind of a vinyl-y wobble to it. And the Cable Guys Pancake, which is a free plugin, but just gives this automatic panning effect from right to left. So it just gives it a little bit more stereo depth and just kind of draws your ear in a little bit more. So with vinyl and Pancake on there, it sounds like this. And to tie it all together, I found a acapella on YouTube of Faith Evans' Soon As I Get Home, which I thought brought everything together in this beat super well. And on that, just to help it fit the key of the beat, I had to transpose it down 4 semitones using the Waves sound shifter. Gave it some light compression with the CLA2A. Used iZotope's RX7 voice denoise to get rid of this weird kind of warbly sound that was going on underneath it. There's still a little bit present, but I think it cuts down on it a pretty good amount. And then I booted up the Butch Vig vocal plugin that just has a lot of awesome effects, as you can see. So I gave it a little bit more compression, boosted it in the air, which is probably about 8,000 hertz plus, and a little bit in the presence, and a little bit of de-essing. So by itself, it sounds like this. And I don't want to lose you. So clearly I didn't use the sample this week as much as I have in other beats, but I think Robert's smooth guitar playing served as a good inspiration for this beat. So without further ado, here is the beat for episode 6 of iSampleU. Enjoy. Don't wanna lose
sleepless nights and lonely days are all that fill my head all the time. Oh, baby, but all I do is think about the way you make me feel. 'Cause baby, the love is so real. Soon as I get home, when I make it up to you, baby, I'll do what I gotta do. If I try to spend some time with you to make you happy, would you feel better? And if I could, with you I would be forever, forever in love. So we could hold each other tight. I can take away the pain if you would only let me. Just forget about the past. I want to make it last. Baby, I apologize. 'Cause boy, I really need you in my life. When I get home, I'll make it up to you. I'm gonna make it. Do what I gotta do. Oh, soon as I get home. Oh, yeah, I'll make it up to you, baby. Baby, I'll do what I gotta do.
So that's all for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the beat. Obviously, it was a pretty different vibe from last week, but I hope you all liked it. You can stream it on SoundCloud or buy it on BeatStars. Both of those links are in the description. Please like this video if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more content like this. And feel free to leave a comment if there's anything you guys want to see, hear, or know about in the next episode. You can follow me on Instagram at dean.thebean if you want to get more updates and listen to more music. And if you'd like to submit something for this series, you can email me at productionbydino@gmail.com. But that's all for this week, so I'll catch you all on the flip-flop.